Hi, everyone. So today I want to discuss the energy of Pluto conjunct Mercury in a synastry chart and the energy that is expressed when these two planets meet. And if you don't know what synastry is, it is basically the astrological combination of two different people and how the science of the two people work in relationships. So let's start first with Pluto. I'm going to do things a little different with this. First, we're going to start with Pluto. I'm going to use the Rider-Waite deck by Pamela Colin-Smith to help illustrate the energy of the planet that we're talking about. So you guys can get more of a visual, also a symbolistic interpretation of the energy. So first, let's talk about Pluto, which is the big boy, the bad boy in this astrology. It is basically the planet that is not uh, it doesn't bullshit. It doesn't play around. It calls things out as it sees it. It's a compulsive planet. It is an intense planet. It rules over the sign Scorpio, which we all know Scorpio is the truth teller and the truth seeker in the zodiac. So you have a very power hungry energy here as well. This is an energy that is looking for its own power. And when it is not positively aspected, it is looking to have power over other people. So this is one interpretation of the Pluto energy, and another tarot card that is an interpretation of the Pluto energy is the Death card. Um, and the Rider-Waite deck, designed by Pamela Colin-Smith. So judgment and death are the two energies that we're seeing here with Pluto already. And the energy of Pluto is also very, very under the surface. So even though it can see the truth, a lot of times it takes its time before it really may even express that truth. And this is where we get the planet Mercury. So Mercury is represented by the Magician card. Let me move this around. Mercury is represented by the Magician tarot card. And the Magician tarot card is the tarot card that basically creates the reality of the native. Okay, so your Mercury is basically the way that you express yourself, how you communicate with your environment. It also rules kind of like the early education that you had, your siblings, cousins, neighbors, how you interact with your environment, and how you basically are able to create your own world. It's your mind, Mercury. It's really about your mind and the way that your mind is able to communicate the thoughts and patterns and visions and everything else that it sees. So when you have Pluto, which is basically a card dealing with judgment, meeting Mercury, the card meeting the magician, you can have a very intense relationship between the two people. This may sometimes be a situation where the Pluto person may be very attracted to the wits and the smarts of the Mercury person, how much information that the Mercury person has, the connections that the Mercury person has, the kind of relationships that the Mercury person has. The Pluto person may find that this person is somebody that can communicate or say things that maybe the Pluto person is not able to say or communicate. You also want to see where the Pluto person's Mercury is located and if their Pluto is aspecting their Mercury, because that also might add some flavor to that person, the Pluto person. And it might show why they can and cannot communicate what they want to, and hence why the conjunction of these two planets are so intense for the Pluto person, because they have a mouthpiece when Mercury is conjunct their Pluto. And the Mercury person is looking at the Pluto person like basically when Mercury went into the underworld and had to deliver a message to the underworld, the Lord of the underworld, which was Hades. Um, Mercury likes going to the underworld. I mean, Mercury likes going to every realm, really, but it really likes going to the underworld because it gets all the secrets, all the juicy things that it needs to hear. Sometimes it hears too much with Mercury and Pluto conjunct in synastry. I definitely think that Mercury is attracted to the Plutonian energy, right? So there's an attraction there if there's a conjunction. There's an attraction from the Mercury person to the Pluto person and the Pluto person to the Mercury person. It's a mental connection sometimes. It could even be psychic to the point where they can feel and sense each other, or there can be also control of the mind and the environment. There can be some trickery going on too, right? Because Mercury is the planet that rules tricks, and it plays games on people to see how quick the mind functions and is able to rationalize and do things. So you can find that the Mercury person is quick on their feet with the Pluto person. But underneath the surface, the Pluto person is really the one psychologically kind of running the show a little bit. You also want to see where the person's Mercury is and how it's being aspected as well, if it has other planets with it, because then that kind of means that the Mercury has a little bit more of a backup to deal with the Plutonian energy. Let's say Mercury is conjunct Neptune or something like that, or their Mercury is conjunct Saturn. Then it may be a little bit, it may be expressed differently for the Mercury person, because then they have those outer planets that are also there as kind of like a force for the Plutonian energy. But overall, this energy can also be kind of like a teacher-student type of dynamic, where the person may be learning a lot of deep penetrative things from the Pluto person, and the Pluto person may be learning how to lighten up and be more carefree. Now, is this relationship something that can work out in the long run? Again, it really depends on the consciousness of both individuals and where they are. If they're not playing mind games with each other, if the Pluto person can learn how to use logic with this Mercury person, or learn how to express themselves more, and the Mercury person can find more depth with the relationship with the Pluto person, whether they stay together or not. No planet, no planet that Pluto touches goes unscathed. I'm just going to say that. If Pluto touches one of your planets in synastry from your partner, that planet will transform. You will transform after that relationship. If it's a relationship with parents, siblings, people that you grew up with, you can find that maybe you attract these kind of people later on in life, or you're used to that kind of stuff. But usually when Pluto touches a planet in a synastry, that planet will transform. It will change. So you can be a master magician with Pluto conjunct your Mercury, or you can be a magician that's dabbling in things that you're not supposed to, energies that may be compromising to your mind and your mental state, and even your siblings, aunts and uncles. You can find that maybe the Pluto person has you a little bit in isolation from those kind of people, or the environments that you're used to. You may find change with the Pluto person around, because the Pluto person is obsessive and may want to only have you around, and only want you to share the knowledge with them, depending on the consciousness of the Pluto person. And the Mercury person, depending on where they are, also may be very attracted to the fact that someone wants to listen to them and wants to hear them. So that can be also something that can happen with this synastry. So is there any remedies? I would definitely say psychology helps to understand childhood trauma situations, healing, trying to understand how the mind works, because then you can kind of see patterns of maybe toxic patterns if the Pluto person has not dealt with their stuff. As the Mercury person, it's good to also be curious and investigate, ask questions about the Pluto person's upbringing, childhood environment, siblings, cousins, neighbors, aunts, uncles. You may find that there's some type of exchange between the two of your energies, where maybe you're here to give news, or they're here to kind of help you deal with some of those issues as well in your life. So that's my interpretation of Pluto conjunct Mercury in the synastry chart. And again, too, like a really cool way to use this is using the tarot cards. So yeah, see you guys in the next video. I'm going to leave my contact information in the description box. Thanks again. Bye, guys.